Welcome everyone back to the Tom Colohue channels, where today we're going to be discussing primarily WWE Money in the Bank 2020, but we also have plenty of news on, for example, Jeff Hardy, a little bit on Sasha Banks, and more as it goes. Our primary target, our primary information that we will be sharing today will be as regards the likely winners and losers based on betting odds, backstage information, and current storylines for the Money in the Bank ladder matches. We will also be covering what else is currently planned for the card and what has already been scrapped. So there's going to be a lot of news on this one, and as you might expect with the name, I'm issuing a spoiler warning first and foremost before we even start, that this is going to be a spoiler heavy episode of Spoiler Warning for anyone who doesn't want to know what is likely to happen at current booking for Money in the Bank. This is one of the reasons I'm giving it plenty of time, by the way, between now and Money in the Bank, to ensure that these spoilers have a little bit of time to breathe, as it were, just in case. I don't want to ruin everything, but there are going to be some spoilers in here. And yes, as the first couple of questions do ask as well, we will be talking Jeff Hardy, who was 3.5 times, plus times, over the limit when he was arrested while driving in Florida. So there's going to be plenty of information there. As we start though, please do consider, if you're on YouTube, hitting that like button. We have 7 likes at the moment and 17 people watching. Hit that thumbs up for me. Subscribe if you haven't already, and we will get started. I'm seeing a lot of people firstly asking how I am. I'm doing a lot better, thank you. I'm still just drinking water. My throat's still a bit sore, and I don't know how long it's going to last, but for the moment, I'm doing a lot better. The office kind of makes it worse, because of all the fans and the poor ventilation that I have in here, unfortunately. But it is what it is, and it is what I've got at the moment. Thankfully, I'm feeling better. Hopefully, it continues as it were. Let's jump in then. Quickly, the first question we have is, did you see Jeff Hardy got arrested? This is from Austin Palmiter, saying it's AEW's problem now, not WWE's. It wasn't necessarily AEW's problem either. It certainly is Jeff Hardy's problem, though, and something that he needs to deal with and he needs to face off with. Jeff Hardy's had a number of issues like this, but when I say he was 3.5 times over the limit, this is a major problem for the for AEW, and of course for Jeff Hardy himself. Thank you very much, Ghost, for renewing your subscription for a 12th month. Says, what a date, hit the year mark, happy to be here though. Thank you kindly, Ghost, for all the time you've been here, all the Twitter trends, and so on, all the good company. As regards Jeff Hardy, AEW now have a decision to make. The idea was back in WWE, that as long as Matt Hardy was there, he would sort of help Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy, however, his body has taken a beating for decades. I want to say that one more time so you guys really understand what I'm saying. His body has taken a beating for decades, mostly self-inflicted. He did not need to do the spots that he does, but he chooses to do them anyway. This caused a lot of substance abuse and painkiller addiction problems, and now here we are with where we were. Jeff Hardy is still currently in jail, and based on the current circumstances, seems unlikely to get out at least for the rest of the day. They can, of course, pay him out, but it really depends. I don't expect we're going to see him on Dynamite. I'll say that first and foremost. Simon has also asked, hey Tom, any new Sasha Banks updates? Yes, there will be Sasha Banks updates. Just as we get into the Money in the Bank spoilers, there will be a little bit of an update there. But before I get into that, I did see Spider-Boss saying, last night watching Twitter, I found pictures of Sasha backstage of a WWE live event. What was the source of those, Spider-Boss? This is an important question, a very important question, and you'll see why with the follow-up. But if you can give me the source of those pictures, I would be very grateful. We're going to jump into the Money in the Bank spoilers now. Once again, this is going to be a spoiler-heavy episode of Spoiler Warning. They'll be based on betting odds, storylines, and backstage information. We'll be talking about who the likely winners and losers are, as well as the card and the like. So, be aware of that. And in addition, if you haven't yet, please do remember to share the announcement tweet, which has just gone live on Twitter, letting people know what we are talking about today. It doesn't really mention Jeff Hardy, as it were, but I do feel, at the moment, I'm going to be focusing on the Money in the Bank section and undoubtedly speaking more about Jeff Hardy shortly. So, for Money in the Bank at the moment, there are 4 matches already announced. Those 4 matches are, of course, the men's Money in the Bank ladder match, the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, and then we have Bianca Belair defending against Rhea Ripley and Ronda Rousey defending against Natalya. Now, there was a match planned for it, which was going to be Matt Riddle versus Roman Reigns, but that match has been pulled and will take place at next week's SmackDown instead, meaning that Matt Riddle will not get the opportunity at Money in the Bank. We've been talking about this for a little while. Roman wants that match at Money in the Bank, and he may be willing to try and push this through and make it happen. So that is card subject to change, but at the moment Roman Reigns is not booked for Money in the Bank. The Usos, however, are booked for Money in the Bank. The Street Profits likely to be involved with them again, as they essentially tied over and wait for RK Bro and Randy Orton to return. Randy Orton likely to return relatively soon. If not this coming SmackDown, it will be after Money in the Bank. Matt Riddle, by the way, likely to take a serious beating in the days to come. As regards Ronda Rousey versus Natalya, I think we all know where this one is going. The clear favourite is Ronda Rousey. Natalya is there to get a great match out of Ronda Rousey to help her bed in with someone she regularly wrestles against and basically add to the overall repertoire of a fighting champion. The WWE are looking to draw a parallel at the moment between Ronda Rousey and Bianca Belair, having them defending often against fairly recognisable names. This is why they wanted Sasha Banks to be the one to lose to Ronda Rousey at Money in the Bank. That, of course, is not what has ended up happening. As regards Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, this one isn't so cut and dry, but Bianca Belair is still the clear favourite. I can't sit here and say she's definitely going to win, but she is still the clear favourite. WWE are pitching a number of different ways to do it. They don't want Rhea Ripley to lose clean, so there is a high possibility of Liv Morgan being involved in order to even the odds, even though the odds are already 1-on-1, to be clear on that one. Now, when it comes to Money in the Bank competitors, there are a number of them still to be announced. Charlotte Flair is planned to return for Money in the Bank. However, and this is the Sasha Banks news, Sasha Banks and Naomi are not currently listed internally to actually be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. They are not currently listed internally to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Also not currently listed is Bayley, but as I've mentioned, card is very much subject to change. That said, with Lacey Evans already announced on SmackDown, if Sasha Banks and Naomi are both planned to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match, they will need to come back soon because there are more qualifiers planned for next week. Current feuds which are not likely to feature on Money in the Bank. Bobby Lashley is likely to move on from Omos. Madcap may have another match with Baron Corbin, but that was pretty definitive as well, and Baron Corbin is likely to take some time off at this point in time to rest, recuperate, and come back better than ever, as it were. There will be something involving Judgment Day. I find it more likely that we're going to see Finn Balor versus AJ Styles at Money in the Bank, which means that neither man is that likely to be involved in Money in the Bank, though Damian Priest is expected to be in the ladder match. Apologies, guys. I'm still not perfect. Yeah, Damian Priest still likely to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Damian Priest, up until WrestleMania, was the favourite to win Money in the Bank this year. Just want to make that clear. Damian Priest was the favourite to win up until WrestleMania this year, and up until last month, the expected winner of the Women's Money in the Bank was Bayley. That is in the betting averages and the betting odds. That is not backstage information. Just to be clear on that, that is purely based on the betting odds. So let's talk about what's going to happen in our ladder matches this year. Now, first and foremost, if you are watching on YouTube, please remember to hit like. Also, if you're watching on Twitch, please remember to hit follow. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can hit subscribe or donate bits now to help support the channel and its growth as well. YouTube will be monetized again relatively soon. I had my meeting today about a limited company. I've been speaking about it in the Discord, which, as I've mentioned it, for the Discord, I'm just going to quickly drop a link for anyone who doesn't already have it. If anyone would like to join the Discord, here is a link on the YouTube side. And here is a link on the Twitch side. So, the plans at the moment for the Money in the Bank ladder match are as follows. Once again, please be aware, spoiler warning. I've firstly tabulated a number of the different betting average sites. I've spoken to a number of people backstage to see the most likely scenarios. And this is what has come out of those conversations. While I don't personally expect them to feature in the match, AJ Styles and Finn Balor are both roughly the same when it comes to potential winners. One site, for example, has them both at 17-1, other sites have them 13-1, and one site has them 14-1 for AJ and 16-1 to Finn Balor. Averaging it out, Finn Balor and AJ Styles are both at around 15-1 to pick up the win and win the briefcase. Austin Theory and Matt Riddle have a higher chance. It is between 6 and 8-1 for both of them, roughly equal on both sides. Matt Riddle and Austin Theory likely winners in second and third place based on the betting averages. Randy Orton slightly below that at 10-1 on a number of different sites. Randy Orton unlikely when talking to people backstage. Number one, however, was Cody Rhodes after WrestleMania. At this point, almost every site that I'm looking at has the same favourite, and it is a very, very strong favourite. And when I asked about this backstage and spoke to people about current storylines, it seems very likely, once again, spoiler warning, that the winner of the men's Money in the Bank ladder match this year will be Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins is currently the favourite to win the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Seth Rollins, currently the odds-on favourite to win the Money in the Bank ladder match. Now, I briefly lost one of my pages, and I just need to get that back. But let's move on to the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Just as soon as I'm able to get this, bear with me just 1 second. Lost one of my pages. So I've once again been looking at the betting averages and been looking at storylines and the like as we go through. And at the moment, the current favourite on betting averages, and not necessarily, but still strongly one of the favourites on storylines, is Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss on a number of sites are favourites, joint favourites. However, Bayley is still in a very strong position. Charlotte Flair is just behind Alexa Bliss and Becky Lynch. So if I tabulate the different sites, it is Becky Lynch at the top, Alexa Bliss next, then Charlotte Flair. Bayley comes in just after that, and the outside is Liv Morgan. Outside of that, we're looking at 20-1 odds for most people, so the chances are very, very low in that regard. Becky Lynch is currently the favourite to win the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which would mean that Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch are the favourites at the moment to win the Money in the Bank ladder matches. So I'm now going to withdraw that spoiler warning. I know that this show is spoiler warning, with that particular spoiler alert I think needed stating. A lot of information in there. If you enjoyed that sort of information, please remember to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm now going to get to the Q&A section, as always, answering as many of your questions as I can. So let's get started. Ask whatever questions you have as well. Sean Cena says, hello Tom, how is your Monday night going? Going very well, thank you. I've had it nice and chill, and even though I've still got a bit of a cough, I'm feeling a lot better. Spider-Boss says, hi Tom, it's sad the situation of Jeff Hardy after he got arrested last night. Yep, and sad for him, and certainly sad for anyone who may have accidentally gotten involved in that, because he was literally driving at 3.5 times plus the limit in a very built-up area, so, you know. Wiggly is celebrating that Australia qualified for the World Cup, which I'm very happy about. I think they add a lot of fun to the show. Spider-Boss says, I've already read that. Spider-Boss says, congratulations to Ria's country, Australia, for qualifying to the Qatar World Cup. Noob says, hello Tom, how are you doing? Doing much better, thank you Noob, thank you for asking that. Edward Brooks says, hey Tom, glad you're better, excited for this show. Thank you very kindly. I really do appreciate how many people have been asking how I am, checking in, and just seeing if I'm okay. I really appreciate it. Wolf Gamer says, I get to actually watch this spoiler warning. Thank goodness for a day off. Thank goodness indeed, mate. I think we all love ourselves a bit of a day off. Dimitar says, hi Tom, feeling better now? Feeling much better, thank you Dimitar. Still not 100%, but I'm certainly improved. Bailey says, were it not for FIFA's greed, we'd be watching the Cup this summer. Can we not watch it? I'm pretty sure I can watch it. Pretty confident. Oh, this summer, right, okay. Yeah, it's an autumn one now, isn't it? Spider Boss says, who's the big favourite for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match? I did just clarify that one, but I'd imagine you asked this before I got started on that. Sean says, WWE announced that Extreme Rules is taking place on Saturday, October 8th from Philadelphia. Wells Fargo, I believe it was. Should be an interesting one. Devin Pierce says, why are there only 7 women in the Money in the Bank match? The plan essentially is to have one less from SmackDown, but they are leaving one open in case Sasha Banks becomes available. As I've said, Sasha Banks and Naomi are not currently listed to be in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, so they may be leaving an opening there. John says, WWE offered Jeff help and he said no and walked out. He could do the same to AEW. That is the reports, though Matt Hardy hasn't necessarily confirmed that, and Jeff Hardy certainly hasn't. What they have said is that Jeff Hardy was not under the influence, and I'm yet to find any evidence or see any evidence at all that that was the case. I was reporting for a while that Jeff Hardy, to my knowledge, was not under the influence at that time, and this was confirmed by Matt and Jeff Hardy. That said, we are where we are at this point in time, and this does keep happening. I doubt he would do that to AEW, though AEW are likely to offer him help in much the same way. Jonathan Rodriguez says, good day, sir. Welcome, Jonathan. Great to see you, mate. Hypnosis Bro says, hey, Tom, just wanted to say, hope Jeff gets the help he needs. Also, any Money in the Bank spoilers. Plenty of Money in the Bank spoilers. If you haven't already caught them, they were at the beginning of the show. Well, I'll say beginning. They were basically from 5 minutes in to 12 minutes in. So by all means, drop back and catch up on those. Ghost says, just so everyone knows, Jeff's blood alcohol level was at a 0.294, while the legal limit is 0.08, wishing him and his family the best. Thank you for the clarification, Ghost. I've been doing the multiplication. Thank you for actually bringing in the exact math for me. I do appreciate it. Austin says, sounding better, Tom. Thank you, Austin. Maybe Bobby Money in the Bank winner. He is not one of the favourites from what I can tell. Certainly not one of the favourites for it. Though I would like it if it was him. I think he would be a very good Money in the Bank briefcase winner. Sami Zayn's also not as high up the rankings as I thought he would be. Joey says, hey Tom, did you hear about NXT wrestler Troy Donovan getting released? Yes, I did. I heard about it and I don't know much about it. I didn't know much about him in general. Spider-Boss says, what is next for Lashley? They are trying to work out a marquee match for him at SummerSlam. I don't believe they have anyone actually lined up at the moment. Sean says, who would Ronda have to face to not be the favourite? Charlotte Flair, technically at this point, which is planned to be the rematch at SummerSlam, would be the favourite considering she's already picked up the win against Ronda, though I'm not entirely sure on it. Spider-Boss says, the source of the Sasha pictures was a fan of Sasha that was at that WWE live event. Okay, but have WWE confirmed it? Has Sasha confirmed it? And when you say at that WWE live event, is there any indication in those pictures that it wasn't from another WWE live event? Also, when you say a fan of Sasha, are you saying the fan literally came backstage and took pictures of Sasha? Because I promise you, Sasha would not permit that. She would not. KJ says, what's up, Tom? What's up, KJ? How you doing, mate? Sean says, I saw betting odds on Bet WWE. Alexa and Bayley are at plus 600 to win. Sasha and Becky are plus 700. Damien is the favourite for the men at plus 500. Those betting odds that you have found are out of date. They are very much out of date and have not been updated to my knowledge since February. So have a quick check, see when it was written out and when it was put together. Damien Priest, I promise you, no longer the betting favourite by quite a margin and definitely not someone the WWE are considering heavily at the moment. Michael says, hi Tom. Hello Michael, how you doing, mate? Hypnosis Bro says, Charlotte expected to return at Money in the Bank. We got the briefcase winner, everyone. Charlotte is expected to return in time for Money in the Bank. The WWE are looking for a little bit of extra star power, and to be honest, Charlotte's the one. Charlotte's very much the one. She's not being rushed back. She's had the time off that she was permitted. So I feel at this point it's only logical that we will get Charlotte back sooner rather than later. She is currently listed. She's not currently listed for the Money in the Bank ladder match, though I strongly expect it. No, Bayley, Sasha, Naomi, not listed. Let me just clarify this on my document. Bayley, Alexa Bliss, no. Bayley, Sasha Banks, Naomi, not currently listed for the match. Charlotte Flair is currently listed for the match and has been since before she went off. Whew. Spider-Boss says, since SmackDown will have 3 women in the women's Money in the Bank ladder match, can Sasha and Naomi be added to it? Potentially, but not both. Not both. Justin says, did I miss any Money in the Bank favourite updates? You did. I shared some spoilers. To be clear, the information that I've given there is not just betting averages. I've also been speaking to people backstage about the most likely scenario, and the people that I've mentioned as the favourites are not just the betting favourites. Simon says, do you see Sasha returning before or after Money in the Bank Premium Live event? Thank you. Well, my expectation is that she's going to be back at least at live events before Money in the Bank. I expected she would have been listed on the internal document. She may just not be listed because PW Insider, for example, always have the listings. They always have the listings. So it may be that they're hiding her return. However, at the moment, Sasha Banks, at least internally, looks set to be back afterwards. Sean says, your thoughts on Troy 2 times Donovan's release? I don't know. I have no real thoughts to share. Hector says, Tom, what did you think of your guy Jay White beating Okada for the IWGP World Heavyweight title and a pretty good promo afterwards? Also, I think that sets up Jay White versus Adam Cole at Forbidden Door. I like that it happened. I very much like that it happened. While I'm an Okada fan, because Kazuchika Okada is one of the best in the world, Rainmaker for life, you know, all that jazz. Jay White's my boy. Jay White's my boy. I bleed with a knife, pervert. What can I say? And I'm there. I'm there. So I'm very happy to have him involved in Forbidden Door. Also, to my knowledge, Okada didn't really want to travel. Hypnosis Bro says, which the chaotic couple would win the briefcases personally? I just can see them having so much fun. The moment will come, I'm sure. Justin says, Rollins should be the winner in my opinion. Fair enough, Justin. By all means. Anyone can share their opinions as you guys know. Jump in, let me know who you think should win, and let me know who you think will win if they're not the same thing. Matthew Ham says, what will John Cena do when he comes back later this month? He's looking set to be involved in a minor feud with Austin Theory. He will not be winning it. It'll be a brief drop in and drop out to pop some ratings. I'm surprised they haven't asked him to go onto SmackDown, to be completely honest. I would love the idea, and I'm just going to put this out there. I would love to see Cena versus Gunther. Michael says, even though Sasha and Naomi aren't listed for Money in the Bank, is there at least progress made in their discussions with WWE? Hope things haven't fallen through. Haven't heard anything about that. Haven't heard anything in relation to it. Best I can tell at the moment, things are about where they were, and Sasha Banks and Naomi are expected back. Wrestler Fan, welcome, says, who will Brock Lesnar be feuding with for SummerSlam? Hard to tell. I think the most likely scenario at the moment is honestly Drew McIntyre. Roman's already got a match lined up at SummerSlam. Most of the championships are already planned. I wouldn't mind it being McIntyre again, but I think there are better options. I think, for example, it would be good to see... I mentioned Cena versus Austin Theory, but I would like to see Brock Lesnar versus Sheamus. I think I've mentioned that a few times. I still like it. But to be fair, I've just mentioned Cena versus Gunther. How about Brock versus Gunther? Now, admittedly, they both need to lose, but imagine if that actually happened. Imagine if Brock Lesnar came back, said he was coming for the belts, and then Gunther said, okay, well, if you're coming for the belt, I'm ready to fight. And he's like, no, not that belt. Not that belt. I can beat you anytime, not that belt. You can beat me anytime, can you? Okay, do it. And then he doesn't. That's all I'm saying. Alyssa says, why Becky Lynch win Money in the Bank doesn't make sense. Oh, it does make sense. The plan is very much for Becky Lynch to hover around Bianca Belair, losing matches to a few other people, and doing the favours. She would hold the briefcase for a while, but I think if you look ahead to the Royal Rumble as well, the betting average lists Becky Lynch there. From what I can tell from the gambling, as it were, people are betting on Becky Lynch because they know what's coming. They know it's going to be Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey, and Becky Lynch holding a briefcase means that she can potentially cash in on Ronda Rousey. That might be the only way to get that championship away from Ronda. A cash in from Becky Lynch that then leads to our WrestleMania match. Justin says, did you say it will be a watch along tonight for Raw? I've considered it. I do feel a lot better, but I'm not going to promise anything. I hope you all understand. I am feeling a lot better, but I'm not going to promise anything at this time. Sai has already... Timing. Sai has already sent on a graphic, an overlay that we could use for it. So that's certainly an option, and I'm not going to say no, but as I say, I'm not going to guarantee it. Edward Brooks and Sean Martin, I have retweeted your quote tweets, re-announcing the show. Dan the Gemini, yourself as well, getting that quote tweet retweet, just so everyone knows that the show is taking place. Thank you everyone for helping me advertise, helping me grow, and just helping me. It really does make a big difference, and it's probably one of the main reasons we currently have 44 people watching. We also have 22 likes, so if you're able to, please do support the channel with a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Wiggly says, hope you're well, Tom. I'm feeling a lot better, thanks, mate. Matthew says, what other matches are planned for Money in the Bank besides the 4 matches? I have discussed the possibility of Finn Balor versus AJ Styles. That's still very much a possibility. Still very much a possibility, but at the moment they haven't really spoken about many other matches backstage. Usos and Street Profits, very much a possibility. Joey says, what is the plan for Judgment Day now that Balor is leading the group? Very similar. The plan is to basically finish off the feud of Edge, but not right away. So they are going to finish off against Liv Morgan and AJ Styles, likely by, and I'm being blunt here, finishing them off. Simon says, delighted for my boy Seth, finally getting much deserved push after taking a lot of L's this past year. He's in a very good position for it. Hector says, and this is news that I can verify, per the arrest report there were issues pulling Jeff Hardy over, getting him to respond and even getting him to put the car in park. The officer claimed the car even rolled forward at one point. Say what you will about Tony Khan, but he needs to sit down with Jeff and say, look, this isn't goodbye, just see you later, offer him help and not put him anywhere near the product till he's better. I wouldn't blame Tony Khan for doing that. Thank you for further information there, Hector. It's getting worse over the course of the show. The more I talk, the worse it gets, unfortunately. Steve, how you doing, mate? Says, Mr. Colohue, good to see you're feeling better, sir. Thank you very kindly. I do feel a lot better, though the more I talk, the worse it seems to feel. Bailey says, as a follow-up to the World Cup discussion above, the final for the World Cup is 18th of December. Oh, okay. 18th of December. I may be in a position to do watch-alongs for football by then, just so everyone is clear. So I may set up my football channel if people are interested in doing some World Cup watch parties. Simon is asking about a Raw watch-along tonight as well. Again, maybe. I'm not going to commit to it. Not going to sing along with that, Chad. I get what you're going for, but I'm going to go ahead and not do that one. Spider-Boss says, if Becky is the favourite to win the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, it's weird considering Becky would be put over other women on Raw. Yes, and that means in the meantime, she needs to put over other people as well. Here's the thing. Basically, everyone who wins the briefcase, as long as they have it for more than, say, 3 months, they take a lot of losses in that time because they know they can very quickly get their heat back. Jared Welcome says, any new exclusives? There's quite a bit of information actually at the beginning of this particular show. I will be posting a video about Jeff Hardy right after this one because I'm waiting for a bit more information to come in and a bit more questions to be answered. The information is coming out as we speak. So I'll post a Jeff Hardy video after this, but as regards Money in the Bank, there is a lot of information at the start of this video. Michael says, I get why Becky would win to face Ronda, but that's not going to go over well. Possibly not, no, but that is one match where she picks up the win. She's already going to be picking up losses to other people. She's going to be losing to Asuka, as she has done previously. She's already lost to Dana Brooke. There is plenty more to come as regards Becky Lynch picking up losses. She would just be holding a briefcase while doing so. Joey says, is Bobby Lashley going to be feuding with Austin Theory? That seems likely at this point in time. Bobby Lashley would not be winning if that's the case. Spider-Boss believes Kevin Owens would be a good Mr. Money in the Bank. I heartily agree. Hypnosis Bro also wants to see Gunther versus Lesnar at SummerSlam. Alyssa says, Liv Morgan deserves better, and then swears at Becky Lynch. Do you mean that if Liv doesn't win, you're going to be furious at Becky Lynch? That's not quite the same thing. Chad says, I don't want to see Cena versus Theory. Cena deserves better treatment than that. But Theory is the future. So they're building up future stars. Steve says, Andrade returned to Dynamite last week, so Charlotte should be back anytime now. And indeed, there is very much the plan. Michael says, if there was a picture of Sasha at a live event, it would have been all over Twitter by now. It would indeed. Austin just says, Shayna, I don't believe I mentioned her at any point. Steve says, my question for you today, what is your dream location, arena, stadium to visit to go and watch a wrestling show? I'm not one for huge stadiums, I've got to be honest. I'm really not. I really enjoyed the MEN. That's the Manchester Evening News Arena over in the UK in Manchester. I really enjoyed it when Raw and SmackDown were there in 2019. I was there for a double taping. And I really enjoyed that. That was absolutely fantastic. That for me is absolutely perfect. As much as I'd love to go to Florida for a show and so on and so forth, I like living in the UK. I don't mind it here. I like that I'm less likely to be shot. I like that. I like that when I was in Florida, I made a lot of friends, but I also saw a hell of a lot of guns. Like a lot. So I don't feel easy with that. Literally everywhere I stayed, there were guns. That's how it was. I don't feel comfortable in that. So I don't really want to... I'm going to go visit the States again soon, I'm sure, but for the moment, let's stay in the UK and just have a great time. Thank you very much, Wiggly, for renewing your subscription. That's, again, a 12th month in total. Some of you guys have been here a very long time. Thank you kindly for your continued support and some great chats, mate. I always appreciate it. Alyssa says, why not push Liv Morgan to win Money in the Bank? Because who would she cash in against? She is not currently planned to be a champion going forwards, and the WWE are planning Becky versus Ronda for WrestleMania. Sid says, last week we talked about how some dirt sheets are manipulated by promotions and performers for their own gain. Do you think this was the case with the Jericho MVP incident? Very possibly. This news got out somehow, but it got out way after the fact. So I find it interesting that it got out way after the fact. Somebody wanted it to get out. Simon says, is it going to be Finn Balor versus AJ Styles at Money in the Bank, or are they in the men's ladder match? If not, when will the match happen? If the match doesn't happen, then it will likely happen a bit further down the road on Raw. They could be in the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. As I say, the WWE is still considering the card, but I do believe Balor versus Styles is a likely match. Kevin says, I'm going to be honest, Becky, Alexa, Charlotte or Bayley don't need to win Money in the Bank. Ultimately, no one really needs to win Money in the Bank. I do feel it would be more beneficial to someone lower down the card, but every now and then the WWE do like to switch it up in that regard. It was hugely beneficial for someone like Carmella, for example, when she won it. Wasn't so big for Alexa Bliss on her win, but they've been putting over new people quite a lot recently. But you still need to keep your top people at the top in order to help put those people over. I don't hate this. I really don't. Dimitar says, is Asuka versus Becky happening at the PLE, or will they be in the ladder match? Becky Lynch, from what I can tell, is planned to be in the ladder match at the moment, from what I've been hearing backstage. Asuka may also be in the match. Simon says, is there going to be Edge versus Balor at SummerSlam? That seems most likely. Edge is expected to return for SummerSlam. Spider-Boss says, any chance of seeing Sasha in the June 24th edition of SmackDown? Possibly, yes. Anything is possible. Hypnosis Bro says, I think Seth and Becky should win, but I see Seth and Charlotte winning. Also a possibility. Charlotte is one of the names there and is listed for the match, though from the backstage chatter, Becky is still very much in the pole position. Noob says, I think Becky will win the Women's Money in the Bank, only to be the first woman to get a failed cash-in due to Asuka's antics. Also, not impossible. As I say, I believe it's more likely that Becky Lynch goes across, cashes in on Ronda Rousey, and immediately turns face in doing so. Kingsander says, joined late, any Sasha Naomi updates? Yep, there was quite a bit at the beginning of the show, so sort of 5 minutes in, as regards their presence or lack thereof in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Steve says, Cena versus Gunter would be money. Great way to get Gunter over further. Maybe next time Cena is back after this time. Hopefully. I mean, Gunter's right there, and a lot of people really want to see him get over. Sean says, what do you think is next for Seth? Well, I believe this entire show has been in discussion of what I think is next for Seth Rollins. One of the reasons I think he's currently the betting favourite is because if, for example, Seth Rollins cashes in, successfully wins the WWE Championship, and holds it until WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes might not be done with Seth Rollins after all. Spider-Boss says, any chance of seeing Brock versus Judgment Day? No, no chance at all. Brock would destroy them all. Matthew Ham is asking, who else is listed for the Money in the Bank men's match? I've named all the names that I'm going to on that topic. KJ says maybe they do Gunter versus Drew for the IC title at SummerSlam. That is a possibility. I find it unlikely because Drew McIntyre will be facing Roman at Clash at the Castle in the next month. So I don't think he can afford that particular loss, and make no mistake, it'll be a loss. Johnny Mendez says, hi Tom, how you doing? Just wanted to get your thoughts on the Riddle versus Sammy match. I think it was good. I just didn't get the stipulation Riddle being banned even though as a Raw guy it didn't make sense. It was a stipulation for stipulation's sake. They were just trying to create some some stakes, as it were, even though we all knew exactly how it was going to go, and it went exactly as we all expected it to. That said, I thought it was a good match. I thought Ricochet versus Gunter was better. Steve says, Sir Colohue, oh thank you, is on form today with that fantasy booking. Give me Brock versus Gunter. Fantasy book anyone versus Gunter, you know you're going to get a great match. Spider-Boss says, I wonder who will win in a Ronda versus Becky, considering Becky won at WrestleMania in 2019. It's a fair question, and honestly, I'm thinking Becky, but I'm not sure. King Xander says, I thought the Horsewomen were supposed to be phased out of the main title scenes, or was that only applying to Sasha? They are. Charlotte Flair will be taking on Ronda Rousey at SummerSlam, but will be losing, meaning that she's going to be out of the title picture from there on. Then Becky will replace her several months later, potentially against Ronda. One horsewoman holding a briefcase does not mean that the entirety of the four horsewomen are involved in the main title scenes. It means that one of them is. Wrestler fan says, Tyson Fury said a while ago he might be at SummerSlam. Is there a chance he will be competing? Possible match with Drew McIntyre. He's been trying to get a match with Drew McIntyre. He wanted it at Clash at the Castle. So the fact that Drew McIntyre has declared himself as challenging for the championships at Clash at the Castle means that a match at SummerSlam is that bit more likely. Hypnosis Bro says, I can see Rhea and Finn versus Edge and Beth at SummerSlam. I would love that. I would absolutely love it. I find it more likely we get Finn versus Edge and Finn beats Edge with the help of Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley, at which point Beth is involved in Clash at the Castle and then Saudi Arabia. Hi Thomas, I am feeling a lot better, thank you for asking. Sean says, could AEW suspend or fire Jeff? Yes. Will they? Probably not. Kervin says, Xylee, is she okay because she was injured on SmackDown? She wasn't seriously injured, she's pretty much okay. Hypnosis Bro says, I also can see Becky Lynch versus Bianca versus Bayley. I don't think we're going to see that, I'll say that. Joey says, is Cameron Grimes going to the main roster after dropping the NA title to Carmelo Hayes? Doesn't seem likely at this point. Doesn't seem likely that anyone is going to be coming up to the main roster at this point. They come so close and then drop like a stone. Simon says, very hopefully Jeff gets the help rehab he's very much needed for years. Very hopefully AEW TK Matt getting the help he very much needs. It's up to him. It's not up to them. Ghost says, I would like to see Gunter versus Drew versus Sheamus. Just let them beat the hell out of each other. Could be fun. Also, to be fair, Gunter needs to get some revenge on Drew McIntyre, although that may have been Walter, who, as we know, is a very different person. Hypnosis Bro says, Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins may not have worked in 2019, but their 2022 versions actually suit each other together. They're absolutely perfect as a unit, and I like that every now and then on social media, they own it. I like that. Simon says, thank you for the very great news updates. Use the hashtag crew about Sasha Tom. You're the very best. Much love. I will always appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you kindly. I appreciate that. For anyone who's currently watching, we're going into the last 20 minutes or so of the show. If you're watching on YouTube, please consider hitting the thumbs up. We have 42 viewers, but only the 23 likes. So every thumbs up can make a massive difference. And subscribe if you haven't already. Low Gamer says, hey. Hey, Low Gamer. How you doing? Wiggly says, 1 year. I've put up with your stream of Man City hatred for a year. Champion. Absolute champion, mate. Thomas Phipps says, what have I missed? A lot of information about Money in the Bank. I've shared my thoughts on the Jeff Hardy arrest, but I haven't actually formally put any news out there yet. I will be doing so in a video directly after this show. Then I think I'm going to go to bed. Low Gamer says, who do you believe is winning Money in the Bank? I've shared a lot of information on that exact topic. It is at the beginning of the show, so by all means skip back, either after or now, to see exactly what I've described on that. We do, Weekly, we do. Boss Pedal said, you can always equalise it by bringing more and more of your own guns until you feel comfortable. See, that's proper thinking. That's like politician thinking right there. Whatever happens, more guns, less doors. Less doors. That's probably my house, too many doors. Wiggly says, I read Kairi Sane said in an interview, Vince has said to her she's welcome back in WWE anytime, would love to have Kairi back. He did say that, but it's not as regards wrestling. They are unlikely to clear her at this point. Hector says, Tom, what did you think of AEW going with a safe pick and having Mox making it to Forbidden Door? Do you feel like if Mox wasn't going through contract negotiations he'd still be in this match? I think no. He's just not an inspiring choice. Him versus Punk isn't an exciting idea, in my opinion. I disagree. I think him versus Punk is going to be a lot of fun, and he's definitely the one going to be winning it. I think this is very much a move to say, we need you to sign a new deal, and I suspect it might suggest that he has. Simon says, your thoughts on Liverpool signing Nunez? I'm excited. I think he's a very exciting player. And I think it's very much a clear sign of the direction that we're going to be going in. Very much a sign of that direction. We've not had like an out-and-out striker for a long time. Mane did not fit that bill. Ed Fries, thank you very much for renewing your subscription for a 16th month. A 16th month. Wow. So 16 months stuck with me, Mr. Colohue, the first follower I ever had on Twitch, the first subscriber I ever had on Twitch, the first channel member I ever had on YouTube. You've not been billed for that because I've not been monetized, but monetization is coming again, just for a heads up on that one. Thank you as always for your support, Ed. Michael says, Naomi's friend has said that Vince wants the both of them back by SummerSlam. I expect that to be the case, and that is what I've reported previously. Justin says, I think babyface Alexa would make a terrible Money in the Bank winner. I think Becky, Bayley or Charlotte should win. So you definitely want a horsewoman. Joey says, who is Brock going to feud with when he comes back? We have discussed some of the possibilities there. I think it's likely to be Drew again, but I'd love it to be Sheamus or Gunther. Sean says, I don't think Bayley needed the Money in the Bank. She was already established. She won the Money in the Bank essentially to get the championship away from Becky because they didn't want Becky to hold both championships for long because both championships on a face causes resentment. Also, Bayley was not first choice. First choice was Sasha Banks. And because Sasha Banks wasn't available at that time and ended up being Bayley instead, Charlotte got another championship reign. Spider Boss says, if Edge faces Finn Balor at SummerSlam, I hope Finn wins. I think he just might. Sean says, will Liv Morgan be in the Money in the Bank? I find that likely, yes. Low Gamer says, what do you think the Money in the Bank qualifying matches will be on Raw tonight? I don't know if they've been announced yet. I'm going to wait and see, but I'd imagine tonight we hear more from Seth, so Money in the Bank makes sense there. Somebody's just choking outside my house, I don't know why. Spider Boss says, if Seth wins the Money in the Bank ladder match, can it be a failed cash-in considering the Usos help Roman? Could be. Will it be? Not sure. Simon says, I'm just praying Sasha comes back in time for Money in the Bank, very hopefully. And Lashley versus Gunther will be a very interesting matchup down the line. Also Sheamus versus Gunther. Lots of good options with Gunther, I say that. Andrew Quinn says, hello Tom, hope you've had a great day. Also thoughts on LFC signing Nunez for 85 million from Benfica. And I'm going to see Jurassic World Dominion tomorrow. Sorry I haven't been on here. You don't need to be sorry, Andrew Quinn. Happy when you're here. If you're not, that's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. I'm excited for Nunez. I'm excited for the change in direction. I'm excited to see Diaz working with an out-and-out striker. I think that will bring out the best in him. Mo Salah has also got a lot more assists recently. I'm excited for it. Johnny Mendez says, is there any news on Roman versus The Rock for next year? No news whatsoever. The WWE have not been able to book The Rock at this point in time. Simon says, are we getting Alexa and Liv as women's tag team champions? Very possibly soon in the near future. My dream team. There has been no discussions of Alexa Bliss being a tag team champion at this point in time. Spider-Boss says, with Becky and Charlotte putting over people, I would love to see Sasha and Bayley in the title picture. It could be that the plan was to rotate them. Bayley, I expect, will be in the title picture, and we'll see her wrestling some of the top names. Sasha, maybe not. Dimitar says, are they actually going through the tag tourney? At this point, no. At this point, no. Noob says, what's next for Asuka after she's done with Becky? There is a match with Bianca in the offing. It will be face versus face. After that, Asuka may have some unfinished business with Rhea Ripley. Sean says, is Liv Morgan a candidate to win next year's Women's Rumble? Yes, she is, because they don't have enough women to not feature her at least. Simon says, who do you think Matt's partner being in the freeway ladder match at AEW Dynamite on Wednesday? They do not have enough time. They've not been given enough time and enough time to work with to work out who that's going to be. I'm not going to comment on that at this time because I think that's just guessing, basically. Simon says, Van Dijk versus Haaland is fast, but I think it's going to be Konate versus Haaland, gotta be honest. Alvarez Diaz, Stones versus Salah, Nunez in the Community Shield coming up soon should be a great match. It will very much set the course for the rest of the season, I'll say that. Konate Van Dijk stopping Haaland, so it's a big ask. It is a big ask, but we'll see what they can do. Justin says, Alexa, Liv, Becky, Asuka, Lacey, Charlotte, Shayna and Shotzi should be the 8 women in the ladder match. If Bayley's in, then take out Shotzi. I do agree that Shayna should definitely be in it. Charlotte's going to be in it. Lacey, as we know, is already qualified. Sean says, Paige said she wanted to re-sign with but WWE didn't want her to re-sign. She pitched to work with Ronda, said she's 1,000% ready to get back in the ring. Could she show up in AEW? Yes, she could. I've spoken for a while about Paige and her situation. The WWE will not clear her to wrestle. She will eventually go elsewhere. I've made that clear for months now, and that is very much coming to fruition as we speak. John says, Tom, I thought you said only one women's title match can happen at a PLE. I didn't say that. I said I suspect we're going to get one in a rotation. I never said that was a rule. I never said that. I said that was my suspicion because that's how I felt about it at the time. That is clearly not the case. There's a difference between me reporting facts and me speculating based on what's going on at the time. I make it very clear. King Xander says, nobody can watch WWE right now. I'm still watching it, just to be clear. And say Sasha and Naomi were wrong. SmackDown especially is just awful. SmackDown this week was pretty good. It was pretty good. It's been bad. It's been bad for a while. This week I think was an improvement. With Roman back next week, they seem to be at least trying a little harder. Michael wants Liv to win Money in the Bank. Damn it. Hypnosis Bro says the Forbidden Doors had a lackluster build in my opinion. I honestly forgot a pay-per-view was happening soon. The thing is there's plenty of time still to get there, and knowing that Jay White's going to be on it, I'm probably going to watch. Jay Quick says, hi Tom, just stopping in to say hi. Rough day because it's the anniversary of my dad's passing. First time about my mum on this day, so I just don't want to be a downer. Appreciate that, mate. I hope you're okay. If you need anything, reach out. Kevin says, I can see Ronda Rousey talking to Mr. McMahon to change the match for SummerSlam. Yeah, she doesn't do that. That's not something that happens. I gotta be clear. Ronda Rousey has never changed a match. Never. That's not something that's happened. Steve says, will you be checking out Impact Slammiversary this Sunday? I'll try to. We'll see how much time I've got. Impact is usually, unfortunately, the one that falls by the wayside if there's an AEW show. Thomas Phipps says, is there any more news on Naomi? Not as of this time, no. Though I did speak about the possibility of her being in Money in the Bank. She's not internally listed at the moment. Sean says, who do you see beating Gunther for the IC title? At the moment, no one. It's going to be a while. I can see him holding on to that championship for a long time, and the WWE have no plans for him to drop it anytime soon. Hypnosis Bro says, imagine Gunther chopping Butcher Brock Lesnar. Give it to me, damn it. And Simon says, do you think Cena ever wins number 17 world title? No, I don't think he does. I'm the one who reported several years ago he had no intention of beating Ric Flair's record. How's Liv's leg injury doing? Absolutely fine. She's fine. No real issue. Sean says they aren't going to do the tag title tournament then get rid of the titles. They are waiting for more tag teams to be involved and to rebuild the division. Right now they're not going to do it. They are still planning to do it. Spider-Boss says, can WWE take out the women's tag team titles considering they don't know what to do with those titles? They can. They probably won't. Noob says, what are your thoughts on Matt Cardona surrendering the NWA world title at Always Ready over the weekend? Had no idea that even happened, to be completely honest with you, mate. Don't know why he would do that, but I did see something about Trevor Murdoch championship reign. I don't like the whole surrender of belts, as it were, but sometimes it is necessary. Kevin says, Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey for SummerSlam. Tom, why? Nobody wants to see this match. Again, drawing power. Pure drawing power. You don't want to watch the match, that's absolutely fine. A lot of wrestling fans do not want to watch that match again. However, the WWE don't really care about the hardcore wrestling fans. They care about the casuals. Casuals will tune in for Ronda Rousey, Charlotte Flair. They will. That will bring eyes to SummerSlam. It will. Spider-Boss says, Sasha and Bayley coming back soon would be great. The SmackDown Women's Division needs them. I do think it's possible they end up in a tag team again. But we'll wait and see as to what actually happens. Simon says, Paige and AW very shortly, Tom? No idea. Really hoping Bayley returns soon, being a year since she's been gone now. She's ready, they're just waiting for something to click into gear. Sean says, who do you think Joe Gacy's Druids are? No clue. The user says, hi mate. Hi mate, how you doing? Hector says, when Gunther FKA Volta was called up, I was very worried because regardless of who they call up, it's not always been a hit. He's been respected, he's been made a big deal, and is a champion now. I'm excited for the reign of the Ring General. As much as anything, we criticise WWE when they get it wrong, and rightly so. We also need to appreciate when WWE get it right, and they have nailed Gunther so far. They've absolutely nailed it. People have got over the name change. People are liking the fact that he has a herald who comes with him and occasionally wrestles a tag team match. It's just really great work by everyone involved, in my opinion. I'm very happy with it. The user says, any word on Moxley's contract? No news, but if he's going to be the AEW champion, and he will be, I find it unlikely that he hasn't signed a new deal already. Sean says, Matt Cardona said he wants a Cody Rhodes run in WWE. The WWE would not like that. Justin says, who do you think Seth will face at SummerSlam? Lashley? Very possibly. Lashley seems to be the most likely at this point in time, though there is, of course, a John Cena if they want to go in that direction. I think it's possible we get Seth versus Riddle, to be honest with you. Oh, that wasn't a fun one. Ugh. Simon says, looking forward to Randy Orton very possibly returning on Friday SmackDown to save Riddle after a bloodline beatdown. That seems most likely at this point. Randy Orton is just taking time off. It's scheduled time off. He usually takes a couple of weeks and then comes back and then does it again later in the year. They need to start the build, so it's possible he doesn't return until after Money in the Bank. Matt Riddle at this point is likely to be featuring in the actual ladder match, just to be clear, and he is one of the favourites for it. Michael says, would love to see them get rid of the tag belts and start a women's mid-card belt. It already is a women's mid-card belt. That's the thing, the tag championships is a women's mid-card belt and it goes on both sides. All they need to do is let women have friends. But they can't write storylines where women get on, apparently. It's annoying. Badaboss says, role models reunion on SmackDown, give me that. I would have no issue with that, and I think it's possibly likely. WWE and Thomas fan says, I have a feeling John Cena is going to have a match at Money in the Bank. He's not expected to be back until after that, is he? We'll have to wait and see. Noob says, I like Gunter and Ludwig Kaiser on the main roster. They're great. They are delivering in every possibility. King Xander says, I'm still flabbergasted by his tag title situation. How hard was it to just let Sasha and Naomi defend those belts? Why break up all those teams after you promised them a great run post-Mania? It's a fair question. They did just break up all the tag teams. It's very strange. Michael says, do they just not have anything for Bayley? I'm surprised she hasn't returned. That's essentially it. From what I'm hearing, it's very much a case that they are just waiting for the right storyline, and they haven't come up with one. They just haven't come up with a great storyline for Bayley, or in fact, any storyline. I'd be surprised if she doesn't feature in the build-up to SummerSlam. I expected her to be back around now, but she's not currently listed for Money in the Bank. Sean says, I don't see Moxley beating Punk. Punk seems to be Tony Khan's new guy. Moxley would not be beating Punk. However, we don't know how long CM Punk is going to be out for. Thank you, Justin, for the clarification. Cena is returning 5 days before Money in the Bank, so it's very possible we get ourselves a match right there. It could be the Austin Theory match, of course, or it could be Cena's in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Stranger things have happened. Justin says, I really hope Owens and Zayn are tag champs before they leave WWE. I'd like it. I'd like them to reunite. I just think they're wonderful together, so why not? Steve says, any updates on Big E? He's out of the neck brace and recovering well. He had a couple of minor setbacks early on, but he is recovering well and is expected to be back sometime next year. Sean says, do they not have anything for Sonya? Not at this point, no. Her storyline with Naomi is finished. They featured her afterwards in working against Ronda Rousey. We should expect to see Sonya Deville back around the same time we see Charlotte Flair back. Spider-Boss says, I always wonder if WWE asked Keith Lee to get in shape for a strong push. I don't know. Not a clue. It's never been mentioned by anyone in that field. Though WWE have been known to do that. Look at Volta, for example. Simon says, I really enjoyed Zayn vs Riddle match last week on SmackDown. Very enjoyable. Great match. And Steve says, Bayley could be brought back in the draft if she doesn't come back for Money in the Bank. The draft is due in 3 months plus. I don't want to wait that long. I would much rather that she comes out after Ronda has beaten up Natalya, or in fact after Bianca has beaten up Rhea, or in some capacity there. I'd much rather that happen. It could be that Rhea and Judgment Day are threatening Bianca, and Bayley clears them out so that Bianca still gets the win. There's a possibility on Raw, but I think we're more likely to see Bayley on SmackDown at this point in time. Michael says, when Big E comes back, he needs to stop doing his whole suicide dive. I fear for his neck every time he does it. I know, I'm amazed that's never broken his neck, to be honest. I've said it several times during watch-alongs, but we are where we are on that one. Sean says, I wonder if WWE ever had plans for Otis to ever cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase. They did. There was actually a comprehensive plan there that I've mentioned previously that involved Baron Corbin winning the championship. And Thomas Phipps says, any chance of having Rollins versus Reigns, seeing as Rollins is technically the only person that Roman hasn't beaten? Yes, if you go back to the beginning of the show after we finish, there is quite a lot of talk about the possibility of Seth Rollins with the briefcase. The briefcase. Right, we are 5 minutes to 11. Oh, Simon clarifies Matt Cardona is out for 6 to 7 months with torn pectoral muscle. Fair enough. King Andy says, can we just stop with the Ronda is a draw? She is. The ratings say otherwise. The ratings are not the only measure of a draw. The person whose segments consistently draw the highest quarter numbers is Sasha. Yep, she's a draw. That doesn't mean Ronda isn't. Ronda Rousey is a proven draw by many different metrics. You look at Twitter reach, you look at engagement in a lot of the social media stuff, you look at merchandise, you look at the sales of meet and greets, you look at the amount of pictures and the like that are taken with her, you look at the YouTube figures, you look at everything involved in that. The ratings are not the only measure of being a draw. Ronda Rousey is a proven draw. So you can say whatever you want there. She is a proven draw. I've done the research. She very much is. Dimitar says if they need a big program for Bayley, she can always have a team or fight Sasha. I'd rather they team, to be honest. I really would. I'd just like to see a strong tag division. Justin has asked, Omos in Money in the Bank? Unlikely but not impossible. Spider-Boss says Seth with the Money in the Bank briefcase is a nightmare for Roman after the 2015 cash-in. Very true. King Xander says Sasha beats her on all of those YouTubers. The only thing she does better than Sasha. Let's find out. Let's have a look. Look at the basics. I'm going to go for the really basics and see if you're right. So, Google Trends. Let's go Google Trends as an example. We're just going to go Google Trends. I'm going to put in Sasha Banks and Ronda Rousey and see who is searched for more on Google. Now, this is only one metric, as it were, of course. So it's just an example to use to see how they compare. We've got Ronda Rousey in. Let's put Sasha Banks in. Ronda Rousey, Sasha Banks. Let's have a look. This as an example. In the average over the last year, Ronda Rousey is more searched than Sasha Banks. There are particular spikes. It's out of 100, based on 100 being the peak. Sasha Banks has the peak because of when she walked out. That is the most attention by Google that Sasha Banks has ever had when she left, when she walked out. Outside of that, we have between the 30th of January and the 5th of February, so when she returned, Ronda Rousey, 76 out of that 100. And other than that, Ronda Rousey's just higher than Sasha Banks. Just clearly. Outside of the last couple of weeks after the walkout, there is one spike for Sasha Banks, which was SummerSlam, when she did not turn up. Outside of that, Ronda Rousey beats her. Justin has brought us some more information here. Rousey has 15 million Instagram followers versus Sasha's 5.6 million. Sasha is actually third for women currently in WWE. Alexa is second. So you've got YouTube, Google search, Instagram followers. We're nailing this. Yes, Sean, thank you for pointing that out. Sasha isn't on the SmackDown banner anymore after I pointed that out. She has been replaced by Raquel. Let's have a look at Twitter. Let's just have a look at Twitter. I follow both of them. So let's find out. Sasha Banks, I know, does extremely well on Twitter. She has a lot of followers. Mercedes Varnado has 2.3 million Twitter followers. 2.3 million. If I go to Ronda Rousey now, who I'm also following, she has 3.4 million Twitter followers. What I've done there, King Andy, is I've just looked at the evidence, and what you're saying is not correct. Okay? We could go further. We definitely could go further. But there is more than one measure of a draw. Sasha Banks is a draw. She's a very strong draw. Very strong. Ronda Rousey stronger. King Andy says Sasha was the third highest searched female athlete in the world in 2021. Who were 1 and 2? You've told me there who's third. Who were 1 and 2? Spider-Boss says, is Bianca the top woman of Raw or Becky still the top woman of the Red Brand? Becky is still the top woman of the Red Brand. Absolutely still the top one. Joey says, is the Omos push over? It is not. It's very possible to get Omos versus Cena, for example. The push is very much still going. Simone Biles and Serena. Okay, so how about 2022? Okay, you've gone for 1 year. Let's go 2022. How is it compared in 2022? Can you do that search for me? Oh, Bianca was 5th. Cool. Hector quite rightly pointing out Ronda also has a huge following on her Facebook gaming channel. Yeah, she's got a huge following in that regard. Okay, you found a metric that supports what you're saying. How about everything else that I've just done? How about everything else? Okay. The information you said was wrong. I did provide plentiful evidence of that. We have reached 11 o'clock UK time. We have done this for the hour. By all means, Kings Andy, keep researching this. I find it really interesting going into the different elements of a draw and such. Like, I've just laid out quite a lot as regards Ronda Rousey being a draw. She is a proven draw. And by all means, keep looking into this and we can talk about it further. But for now, it is 11 o'clock. I am feeling the effects of talking for the last hour. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone for jumping in with your questions, for helping out, for hitting like, hitting subscribe, and the new subscribers we have, Ghost of Nay, Wiggly, and Ed Fries over on Twitch. You do have to renew those subscriptions. It's not automatic, so I always appreciate it when somebody does. Thank you kindly, everyone. In the meantime, I've been Tom Colohue. You've been fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon.